Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. This line and the series that this line begins came into my life roughly 20 years ago, and it changed my life forever. As you might have guessed it or looked into the title, today I'm going to be reviewing Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone if you were unfortunate enough to be born on the wrong side of the Atlantic. Yeah, I said it. Okay, so one disclaimer before we get into the review, this video will contain spoilers. So if you have not checked out the books or the movies, or you've been living under some rock, a huge rock, go and check those out first and then come back. But please come back and leave the views. Okay, now let's get into the review. Okay, so most of the first book, this book, is about building the world. Building the world in which this epic saga, this epic story is going to take place. And Rowling takes painstaking efforts to get there. And she builds this rich world that we get to inhabit. Okay, so if you see, there isn't much plot in this book. A lot of it is world building, but it was necessary and it was done brilliantly. So if you see that a lot of the characters and the places, all that are established in the book, you reap the relevance of them right throughout the series. For example, Sirius is mentioned in the first chapter, and then he becomes prominent in the third, right? This is just one of the examples. All the characters are named, the places are named, and she kind of imprints them in your head. So, for example, throughout the books, throughout the series, if you ever hear the words bushy brown hair, you know exactly who it is, right? So, yeah, so this book has a lot of world building, very less plot. But that doesn't mean she doesn't define the characters well. She etches the characters, whether it be the main ones, Harry, Hermione, Ron, Hagrid, Dumbledore, or side characters, or characters who then become prominent later, like Snape. They are etched out really well. So it is very difficult to say that whether she had etched them out completely or she did started figuring them out, fleshing them out as she went ahead. But that's the brilliance, right? You never know. It is done that perfectly. So after I read the Harry Potter books, the next book that I read, a lot of people my age read, was Lord of the Rings, right? So now that's a fantasy book. So Tolkien creates an entire world. At that time, as a teenager, I felt that that was much cooler and that was much easier to do because he do maps and all of that. But now, as I grow older, I realize it's still easy to do that. But in the Harry Potter books, our world, good or bad, as however it is, still exists, right? And there's a window from our world to the Wizarding world. So it mirrors our world in certain sense, and I mean, it is very similar to our world in certain aspects and very different in some. That is very difficult to pull off. I realize that now. And that's the brilliance of it also because she gets to deal with a lot of problems in our world, in that world. So I also remember Quentin Tarantino was another brilliant writer, said in some interview that you can deal with a lot of issues when you bury it in genre. That's exactly what Rowling does. She looks at death, she looks at life after death, she looks at the division between the rich and poor. She looks at the class system, which is very prevalent in England. Of course, me being Indian, I related it much more to the caste system. Okay, now let's take a look at the writing of the book, right? So the first thing that strikes me is that this book is in third person close kind of perspective where you're not hearing Harry's internal monologue all the time, but still you know what Harry's thinking, what he's doing. The story mostly takes place only where Harry is. And this continues throughout the books. But since she started with this kind of a POV, even when she wanted to take the story somewhere else, she had to devise certain other things to take the story there. So that is why you have the pensive or Harry's nightmares where Voldemort can be seen doing a lot of things. So the connection between them. It is just a device, a writing device to show you the story that's happening somewhere else. Right. Also, one more very interesting thing that I have not seen any writer before J.K. do is that she unabashedly and without any fright, deals with a lot of adult concepts daringly in front of kids. That is very, very, very commendable, right? Like I already mentioned, the class system, the division between rich and poor. She also deals with a lot of very sensitive subjects like child abuse, because you may not agree to it, but Harry has been abused. Harry was abused by the Dursleys a lot growing up. Okay, so now as Harry moves into Hogwarts and finds this new world, makes friends, and a lot goes on a lot of adventures, these are just things that happen. But the central theme of the book for a lot of you would be that it's a book about good versus evil, right? There are evil forces at work, then there are these pure, kind hearted kids who also have some courage and they try to stop them. So it's basically good versus evil. As a kid, even I felt that, but now as I've grown up and I see the book in its entirety, I feel that most of this book is about choices, right? Let's have a look right from the beginning. Lily Potter decides to die. She didn't have to. She made a choice to save Harry. Harry then also manifests similar behavior. Like Harry chooses not to be in Slytherin. He asks the uh, hat to not put him in Slytherin. This is then explored in other books, leading to one of the most famous quotes in the series, where Dumbledore says that we are our choices. I won't get into that right now, right? And after that, Snape chooses to protect Harry against Squirrel. Uh, Ron and Hermione choose to go with Harry to find the stone. Harry himself, despite having doubts, chooses to go and fight against Voldemort. So, yeah, for me, the overarching theme for this entire story, and in a certain sense, the entire series, is choices. There's one very interesting thing to note about this book. Rowling has herself mentioned in many places that most of her books are whodunits. But if you take a closer look at this book, it's not a whodunit because the crime, so to speak, never happens, right? Harry foils Voldemort's plans. So if you see, they try to steal the stone from Gringotts. That never happens. They try to jinx Harry's broom and kill him. That never happens. Hermione accidentally saves him. They try to kill unicorns and live by that. That they succeed partly there. They kill the first one, but the second one they don't. And in the very end, they try to steal the Philosopher's Stone again. But that never happens. Harry, Ron, and Hermione foil that plan. So it's not really a whodunit. I thought it was just interesting to note this. Okay, so now let's talk about certain other interesting facets of the writing. It's very evident and popularly known that J.K. Rowling has this fascination for etymology. A lot of the spells come from Old Latin. A lot of the character names come from archaic or Old English. For example, Dumbledore is the Old English word for bumblebee. Hagrid in archaic or Old English means drunk or hungover, which is how he gets his uncouth kind of behavior. Also, she does a lot of this functional character naming, like Sirius and his whole family have names that come from a lot of constellations. Or Professor Sprout, who teaches herbology, her name is Sprout. And the arithmancy professor is called Professor Vector, right? She does this. It's a bit cheesy, I know, but she doesn't take it as far as Pokemon, right? I mean, what the hell is Squirtle? So that's that. And there's one more very interesting thing, and this isn't much of a peculiarity, but just that this book is a job well done, right? So if you see, each of the characters have a distinct way of behaving. They are very distinct. Even in dialogue, she maintains this consistency, right? For example, McGonagall and Snape, though they are a bit different in nature, but both of them are very sophisticated. Dumbledore is wise, a bit weird, and really charming when he wants to be, right? Harry is full of questions because we are too, right? He's our eyes onto the world. So he is bound to have these questions and he keeps asking them, or some people, without even asking, they keep providing us and Harry with the answers. If you see Ron is very casual. This is a world he's lived in. Everything is matter of fact for him. So he knows this world pretty well. But there are certain things which he doesn't know because of his character. Hermione, on the other hand, comes in and bridges all these gaps that Ron has. So she's very factual to begin with, and then she loosens up. Right? So that's about characters. Let's get into something very, very interesting now. This one thing which she had to do, which was very, very difficult, was to get the notions of magic that are already in your head. She had to push them away. She had to get them away. And she does a brilliant job of doing it. And how does she do that? She references each one of those. So if you look closely, she even gives Ron these characteristics. Let me explain how. She puts in words which are very familiar to us, like hocus pocus, abracadabra, jiggery pokery, right? These are our idea of magic. At least these were our idea of magic before Harry Potter series came along. So she puts all those in there and then she breaks that myth. She takes you into another world by acknowledging that you know all this, but I'm not going to use any of that. Let's throw that all away and now come into this world with me. She does this even with Ron, right? If you remember, Ron tries to turn his rat yellow, right? That's a fake spell given to him by Fred and George. So she even makes a character from the Wizarding world. She uses him to dispel your myths about magic. Now, this is just brilliant writing, and it is very difficult to do because she's creating a world. She needs to break the world you are currently living in. She has to pull you out of it, and she does a fantastic job of that. You might have noticed I haven't said even one bad thing about the book or the series. These books were practically my entire childhood. I'm in love with these books. But there are certain things that bother me. So, and yes, I'm being a bit nitpicky here, but let's address them, right? So, if you remember in the Leaky Cauldron, Harry meets Quirrell. So there is a line that pretty straightforwardly states that Quirrell grasps Harry's hand, but we all know that is a bit inconsistent because at the very end, he couldn't touch Harry because of Harry's mother's protection. He just starts burning up, right? So I think this is an inconsistency because they haven't explicitly explained it anywhere else. Some people might argue that at that particular moment in the Leaky Cauldron, Voldemort wasn't inhabiting his body, Quirrell's body, but I don't think there is any proof anywhere else in the book dispelling that. Also, in the very end, why is Quirrell not using a wand against Harry? Why is he trying to physically touch him? I think I never understood that. At least the first one, the one where he grasps Harry's hand in the Leaky Cauldron, that doesn't happen in the movie. That doesn't happen in the movie. They rectified it there. Okay, and there's one more thing that is bothering me that's slightly making me grouchy is that in the very end, when Quirrell sends this fake letter calling Dumbledore to the ministry, it is very clearly mentioned that Dumbledore flies. Why is he flying? Why isn't he just going outside the grounds and apparating, which is what he does throughout the series after this book, right? So yeah, those are minor inconsistencies, but they didn't ruin the book for me at all. To be really honest, I didn't think of these as a kid when I was reading the books, but now as an adult, I could find these things. But it's all forgiven. These books are just amazing. So all in all, I would say this was a very, very solid piece of work from every standpoint. I'm a bit biased because I love the books. I've said that before. Yeah, I'm a bit biased, but still, even from a writing standpoint, this book is very, very solid and a great first installment in this beautiful series. Okay, so I'm planning to do a review like this or maybe other videos about the Harry Potter series for each one of the books. Let me know if you want to watch them and how you feel about it. Let me know if I should improve something. Okay, and if you like this video, please leave a like, smash that like button. Please leave whatever comments you want to in the comment section down below. And if you like the channel and if you want to support me, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.